went into this project unsure of how this little 15-year-old Canon Powershot Digicam would perform, and it low-key blew me away. What's old is new again. This Digicam's lack of frills and a no-nonsense design, plus a viewfinder, made taking pics easy and unassuming. The colors turned out great, and the pictures came out with a sense of purpose, like they just belonged. It's hard to describe, but easy to see. Let's dive into this digital camera and see if a Digicam like this could be a good fit for you. Kevin with Prickly Pear Camera here. Now we're going to go over how to use the Canon Powershot A560 and really most other Canon Powershot Digicams. It's really hard to believe that this camera was made in 2007, 16 years ago. And even though it has a 7 megapixel resolution, it still takes really good pictures. The other thing that's kind of crazy about this camera is when it was released, the MSRP was $229, which is the equivalent of almost $350 in today's money for this simple looking point and shoot camera. But there really is a reason why these have gotten more popular, especially over the last few years. They can be had at Goodwills, eBay stores, and thrift shops for under $20, $30. I bought this camera for $20 on eBay here in the United States. This camera has a really good feel in the hand. I would say my hands are normal sized, hopefully. And when you hold it, it fits really well in the palm of my hand, and I can just hold it with one hand, as opposed to a larger digital camera, which you would have to hold with potentially two hands. Because this is so light and compact, you could hold this camera like this for hours when you're out and about shooting. It's really, really easy. This particular model, the Canon Powershot A560, has a 4x optical zoom. The lenses on these can be really noisy. And it's just part of the charm, I think. You get that ubiquitous startup sound that really just means you're shooting with an old Digicam. So you'll see at the top of the camera, there are a few different mode options on the menu dial. We've got auto, manual, movie mode, scene mode, some various indoor modes. There's a portrait mode, indicated by the face there. And then back to auto. It has a fairly simplistic menu. When you go into the menu by clicking on the bottom right, you'll see a few different options. Digital zoom, I would just go ahead and turn that off. That has nothing to do with the optical zoom. It just digitally enhances and basically makes anything that you zoom in far away just more pixelated. Not very helpful. Self-timer, if you wanted to set a timer, if you have, for example, this camera on a tripod and you want to do a 10-second timer, you can do so here, or if you're taking say a family photo or something like that. AF assisted beam is set to on, I just leave it on. Review, you can adjust the length of the review time here. Display overlay, that's completely up to you. So if you go ahead and set it to grid lines and we go back, those are the grid lines. And if, for example, you wanted both, then you get the information up here at the top, as well as the grid lines, to make sure that whatever you're trying to take a picture of is in the center of the screen. If you want to conserve battery life, you're able to do that here. It will automatically turn the camera off, basically, and turn the display off after an amount of time to preserve battery life, just like it did right there. This particular card size is 2 GB card. It holds a ton of pictures for the 7 megapixel camera. File numbering, you're able to adjust there. Auto rotate. When you're taking pictures and you're viewing pictures, you're able to adjust that to rotate there. So if you accidentally leave your camera on, there's a lens retract functionality here that will automatically retract the lens just so nothing happens and it gets stuck out and it gets dropped and the camera breaks. Most of the pictures that I took that were in the collage at the beginning of this video were actually taken using the viewfinder. So most cameras produced these days, especially current cameras by major manufacturers at a budget price point, do not have a viewfinder. That makes it very hard to shoot images, particularly when there's a lot of natural sunlight, because of the glare coming off the LCD screen. And this is a fixed LCD screen, so you can't rotate it or move it. Makes it very, very challenging to actually see what you're trying to take a picture of on the LCD. Whereas if you use the viewfinder, take off my glasses here, and you get in there and you take a picture, you know exactly where your focus point is because there's a little target and a crosshair inside of the viewfinder. Can't quite get a picture of it because it's so small, but when you put your eye up to it, you're able to see and focus. How do you know when the picture is in focus? Canon is nice enough to have a little green box, a little green square. So we're gonna focus on a particular image, in this case a cactus, and you'll see that green square, and that means that it's in focus. Whereas if I zoom in more, you'll see still got a green square, that's good. Okay, now we've got a yellow square. That means that it's not in focus and the picture will probably turn out a little bit blurry or fuzzy. Whereas if we zoom out a little bit, we get the green square back. One of my favorite features of this camera, apart from using it in street photography, I'm in Arizona, in somewhat rural Arizona, so don't have a lot of opportunity to do street photography, unlike a lot of you. If you have used a camera like this for street photography, I'd love to get your thoughts. Go ahead and comment down below. All I have around here in Arizona is a lot of nature and a lot of cacti. So end up taking a lot of pictures of birds and wildlife and mountains that are in the area. Digicams are really, really known for taking street photography and getting intimate shots. The cool thing about using digicams, as opposed to either a cell phone or a really large DSLR mirrorless camera, is literally you can take it, put it in your pocket, pull it out, and if someone sees you using it, it may actually get some astonished looks at first, just because a lot of times people haven't seen someone using a camera like this for 5 or 10 years. But once they move past that, it's not nearly as in your face as a big DSLR camera with a giant lens and you're taking a picture of someone and then they get very uncomfortable and you lose the naturalness of people as they're going about their daily lives. And that's why I really like using digicams, because of that. You get a natural and honest presentation. So going back to another one of my favorite features beyond the viewfinder is this camera has a really cool macro mode. If you're in either auto or manual, you're able to hit this little button here with the flower, and then it pops up, and then you're actually able to take closer in pictures in focus. Actually, I've been really impressed with some of the pictures that I've taken in macro mode with this camera. I'm gonna pop a few up on the screen, just of items that I have around the office that I've taken pictures of, generally within a 6 to 12 inch range. Normally, digicams have a very hard time doing macro photography, just the way that their lenses are set up. But I was impressed with this camera. Really impressed. And it actually made me think that you could use this 16-year-old camera and take some pretty darn good pictures of like eBay items that you're gonna post or items that you're posting on Facebook. Just something to think about. It does use AA batteries. I just opened the bottom of the camera here and you'll see them here. I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. I have Amazon AA batteries that I'm using in this particular camera. The batteries that I would stay away from for sure are the dollar store batteries. They lack the power to really even operate most consumer electronics, including this camera. So stick with either the Amazon batteries or major name brand batteries. I buy these AA batteries in bulk off of Amazon in 100 to 300 packs, and it works out to 20 to 22 cents a battery. And this particular camera, depending on how often you use the flash, will allow you to take up to 250 to 300 pictures for the life of 2 AA batteries. So 40 cents for 250 to 300 pictures seems like a pretty good deal to me. This particular camera is not compatible with most really large, newer SD cards. I happen to have a 2 gig small sized card here that I'm using. You might have been asking, why is there a tripod in the beginning of this video? Because this particular camera and most cameras of this age do not have really good built-in image stabilization. It's really handy when you're shooting as opposed to wiggling a lot, especially if you're zoomed in and using the optical zoom, to either set it on a surface that's hard and fixed whenever you're taking a picture. So take a picture on a bench or a table, or use something to prop your arms up so you're in a more fixed position than kind of shaking. Or you could use a really small tripod like this little guy. This is a tiny little Joby Gorilla Pod that I have. And the cool thing about this little guy is you're able to wrap it around trees, you're able to wrap it around posts, you can walk around with it like this. And it makes it super easy to shoot with. Even doing this, I've actually noticed that there's much less issues with stabilizing the camera when you're just holding it on a little tripod like this. And there's tripods like this and various other tripods. I think I have a bigger version here. Here's the big guy. I mean, even this would work. It's probably too much for this little camera. Or you could use a very small tripod that's more fixed like this guy. And it just makes it super easy to shoot. Like, you can just walk around, if you're shooting indoors or in your house or something, with a little tripod, set it down. This has a little articulating ball joint. And you can adjust it to whatever angle that you want, whatever artistic angle that you want. And you're ready to go. And you don't have any of the blurring that you get, particularly in low light conditions or when you're manually shooting and adjusting the ISO, and there's a longer shutter speed time. Having a tripod that's fixed like this can really help out. And this camera does shoot video. I'm not gonna go into it in this because it's pretty low quality. I believe it's 480p. I don't know what that was. So if you were to blow it up on today's high definition TVs, it's gonna give you kind of that cool Y2K camera look, if that's what you're going for. The other thing about shooting in video mode is there's no manual adjustments you can do. It's using the autofocus of the camera and that's it. If you are printing pictures off of this camera, which I would obviously highly encourage you to do, I've had success printing up to, say, like a 9:11 size without getting super pixelated. When you get above that and you're really close to the image looking at it, you probably will see a little bit of pixelization. But as you back away further and further from the image, you'll notice it less and less. So that's a recap of the Canon Powershot A560 digital camera. I went into this video not really knowing what to expect with this camera because it's been a while since I've even looked at a camera that's under 10 megapixels. But man, I was truly impressed.